Hi guys and welcome to Throwzone.com. This is Mohit Soni. What you're looking at is a very dangerous missile on the road, what Ducati likes to call a motorcycle. This is the Ducati Street Fighter V4 and it's based on the Panigale V4 in its naked street avatar, and what it looks like is something completely out of this world. At the same time, it's got the Ducati heritage in terms of design, because what I think is that it resembles the Street Fighter from the past, and it makes a lot of sense when you consider in the lines that are drawn on this motorcycle, which resemble very much to the older motorcycle. But at the same time, it's a completely new motorcycle. Let's quickly jump into the design, because there isn't much, because it's a very minimalist design. As you can see, a lot of air vents, this fantastic headlamp that is on offer, and let me just show you what the LED DRL looks like. Let me tell you, the illumination and spread in the day, in the night, in the lower beam and high beam, both are pretty brilliant, and these golden forks make a lot of sense with this black color here. You've also got these magnesium covers. They are not just color per se, these are magnesium crank covers and thing, which also lend a contrast color tone to this motorcycle. Huge fuel tank, but surprisingly it holds only 14 liters, and when we filled it up, when the fuel light came in, it only took 10 to 11 liters 10 liters, sorry. So reserve is around 4 liters, so that's when you start need to filling in. And that's the very important steering damper which this motorcycle of this caliber needs. And that is the switch gear which you're already familiar with from the past. You've got these modes and you've got the select button here, and this is a unmarked, but not unmarked, it's Ducati launch control, as it says DPL. You've got heated grips here as well, so the North Indian riders will be really happy on their rides on the Yamuna Expressway with this motorcycle, 6 a.m. on a December morning. And as you can see, the tail lamps also look clearly very good. Electronic suspension is on offer, of course I'll explain that while I'm riding, and you can see that at the front as well. The instrument cluster is a little from the past. Ducati hasn't upgraded it like they did with the other new models that have been started coming in, but that's what keeps the Street Fighter V4 in check when it comes to segmentation. And what you can see here is these brake fluid bottles, which look really nice. You've got this very fighter jet inspired kill switch here. Of course they are backlit as well with red color on offer. You've got a parking lamp here, high beam box that way, and this is the pass lamp button. And you've got these fake vents here as well, which look sort of sort of nice. Most importantly are these vents here. These vents, they are clearly out of the Ducati racing program, and here to make sure that the front stays as humble and as lower to the ground as possible. I'll again explain that while I'm riding. Overall, that is the motorcycle. This is a seat height of 845 mm, so that's not going to clearly get a lot of people, but surprisingly I'm 5'11" with boots. The inseam also is a bit of an issue for a heavy rider like me, but I've been able to get my feet down at least on one side. The other side is also halfway tiptoeing, and it's given me a lot of confidence to ride this motorcycle. And again I'll explain how is it been to ride. And that's the features list. That's the switch gear, that's the design. The instrument cluster, it has everything on offer. You can control everything via from here, and it's very intuitive, it works really well. And as you can see, everything is adjustable in every mode from here as well. Or if you go into settings, let me just show you. After that, it's all yours to understand. There's pin code, there's lap time, there's backlight, there's date and clock, there's units, there's service. Tire calibration is for the service guys to start. The DRL settings also go from mid slightly mild to full DRL, so that also is controlled from this button here as well. Turn indicators can be automatic, and the info as it shows what is on offer. Going back, of course, just takes a button press here. Going back all the way to the main setting will take time. I recommend you do that while you're standing still and not while on the motorcycle, unless you're completely ready to you're completely ready with the entire thing, and you can work it when you're riding. It will take some experience, but please get that experience while you do that, because it can be a lot of distraction on a road like this, on the roads. And with a motorcycle like this, you don't need any sort of distractions. Like I said about the ergonomics, let's now jump into the riding part. So what is the Ducati Street Fighter V4 like to ride? Well, this is a motorcycle that is completely out of this world when it comes to performance, because 0 to 100 is done under 3 seconds. It does 0 to 200 under 10 seconds, and it is clearly a monster of a motorcycle. The V4 engine makes 200 bhp of power and around 130 Nm of torque, and it's got a 6-speed gearbox, which is slightly clunky. The clutch, despite being hydraulic, is slightly heavy. I think you'll get used to within a week. We also got used to the motorcycle, so that is quite impressive considering the fact that it is quite easy to drive in the city, because the monocoque chassis and the suspension are so good, so well tuned, even to our conditions, that we are really impressed with what it offers, because the ride quality is actually quite good. And when the worst of bumps have taken, when we slow down to make sure that the alloy wheels don't procure any damage, we slow down. And despite that, we've seen other motorcycles not deliver this kind of ride quality, but this does. So that's really impressive to have. The real reason why I'm absolutely blown away with the Ducati Street Fighter V4 is the low speed handling of this bike and the low speed corner capability, because usually bikes of this size don't really work well at low speed corners and low speed duties. Just not about the traffic, it's about the corners, it's about the slow speed corners that we get used to. This thing leans into it very well, and it provides you with a lot of grip, lot of confidence to do so. Monocoque chassis has been doing its part really well. It feels light on its feet, at the same time it feels extremely confident. The ever adjustable suspension on offer makes this a very good bike to ride. We took some corners at really high speeds with just a flick of the handlebar. At the same time, I could take low speed corners as well with a flick of a handlebar, because it can actually deliver that. There's a lot of leverage from the handlebars as always, so that leaves a lot of room for correction, and that's the reason why it is really impressive. And surprisingly, you will say, yeah, right, that's great, but it'll heat up like crazy in traffic. No, it doesn't. The rear cylinder switches off. You've got a heat shield off the rear cylinder, so that controls heat to a very large extent, and the cylinder shuts off. So at what we noticed is at 50 kilometers an hour and at neutral, the engine shuts off because there's a drop in engine noise. So that is clearly indicative of that the engine is shutting off one of its rear cylinders, I guess, and that gives it very less heat. Earlier in the past, your thighs at the back could heat up, but this doesn't happen at all with this bike. What heats up this time around is when you are gripping the tank with your thighs, the internal thighs can heat up a bit, because when the tank heats up so bad, so your internal thighs also can heat up a bit, and you can feel a bit of a pinch if you're riding it in the traffic. But I'm pretty sure you're not going to commute with it until unless you have really good roads and no traffic in your area. But even if you do, sometimes it's totally manageable. Just keep up with the speed, don't ride it too slow, don't rev it too much, because a couple of guys who asked us on the road to rev it up, it immediately heats up. So focus on your riding part, focus on the aspect of moving ahead, and there will be no heat whatsoever to bug you. There will be always some heat. Most of the heat is managed really well as well, and we are really high praises of what Ducati has achieved with this motorcycle. It almost feels fit for our conditions, and that makes it a very impressive bike. Like I said, we are impressed with the low speed and high speed handling. That is a big part where this motorcycle impresses a lot. Grip is really good, brakes are phenomenal at the front and at the back, and of course you cannot maximize the performance on any given road in this world, or let alone India, because it has too much power. Like I said, 0 to 100 under 3 seconds, 0 to 200 under 8 or 9 seconds, or even 10 seconds. So that is ballistic performance. Street mode and sport mode are really usable. Race mode, where it gets absolutely crazy, it just wants to wheelie, and Ducati has controlled all of that with Ducati wheelie control. You've got traction control, stability control, and EBC, along with Ducati quick shifter and electronic suspension that adjusts itself along with the mode, makes it really apt for our conditions. And the street mode and the sport mode is what you're going to spend your time with, because it is very easy to modulate. Overall, a surprisingly docile Ducati, and that makes it very impressive in our books. We are really blown away with the performance, with the handling, with the sort of ease of use I'm using with Ducati here, because that is actually made possible this time with this motorcycle, costing around somewhere between 32 to 35 lakh rupees on road. It is a lot of money, but you're getting a lot of bike, all the electronics, fantastic design, fantastic performance, fantastic handling. And after spending a week, we clearly see that someday we can live with this motorcycle as well. Until then, we're just going to write about it and do some videos on social media and our website, so go ahead and check them out. And as always, thank you so much for watching this video. Make sure you like and share, follow us on our social media and website for everyday updates. Until then, goodbye.